a lot of people have not been registered. So I don't know what's the oppositions are doing about it. That's why really on my mind, Stephen.
Those are very important concerns, and even Ambassador Bwaka in his speech delivered at the Farmington Declaration talk about some of these issues and how the National Elections Commission must pay keen attention to them and recalibrate, because first, this is a new technology, this is a new system. In fact, the timing for it to be done is a little off and all those things. So once we come to that topic, we'll talk about it more. But thanks for flagging that. Daniel, what's trending from your end?
Thank you, Steven. And, I'm happy to be back here. There are a lot of things trending from my end, but as protocol demands, we have to limit our trending issue. But let me first of all begin by emphasizing a few points that Mona made. The process is about to conclude in the first phase for Mosorado, Baso, Magibi, Bomi, Kidman, and Bapulu. You know, Stephen, we all have been calling on the Elections Commission to do the voter registration simultaneously across the country, because we believe that giving the country, the registered voters, more time to turn out the register to vote is in the best interest of having the process being inclusive and giving everybody opportunity. But there's this Liberian mentality, and when you listen to the preliminary report from the magistrate from Bumming, the magistrate of the Elections Commission from Bumming, he said in the first week of the registration, they recorded 36,000. That number significantly reduced in the second week. Only 6,000 persons were recorded. So it is a Liberian mentality. Oh, we got 2 weeks to do the thing. I will do it tomorrow. I will do it tomorrow. Now they have been caught up with time. So what we're going to realize, we're going to witness over the next couple of days, from tomorrow, Thursday, moving on to Friday, Saturday, you're going to see there's going to be massive turnout at those centers. In the end, people might not get registered as they're supposed to be able to vote, simply because people didn't take advantage of the time. Yes, we called on the commission to extend the period, which is good, to extend the period. But equally so, people have to take advantage. Even if the NEC has said it is 1 day, given the importance that you attach to this thing, as basic as I am, I took 3 hours. On the first day of the first day the process was declared open, I took 3 hours, stood in the line and got my card. Okay? And 2 other process that identical center right beside my house have been empty. It has been empty. So people are not making use of the process. All of the publicity will come on the show. NEC is not paying us to make publicity. For past 18 years, they are in the end, if NEC cannot accommodate everybody because of the slowness in the process, then we're going to have another public outcry. So, it just speaks to the mentality of our people. You have 21 days in Mosorado County. Every day, if those centers were jam-packed and NEC officers had no breathing space, of course, NEC herself would have said they extend the day, they extend the process, even in the absence of political leaders calling for the extension. But from what NEC has observed, besides the first week, there has been relatively low turnout. So anybody will assume that people don't have interest in the process, or people who want to register are coming to register. So there's no demand for the process. So let's see how it plays out for now, the Saturday. And if the need be, we're all going to appeal to the commission to extend the period. But then we're talking about the work of the commission also. We have to understand that the government is not supporting the commission. Mr. Samuel Tuer promised to get the commission the initial 10 million to support the biometric exercise and everything, because the whole biometric exercise is pre-funded. Okay, that money has not come. The last time the chairperson of the board of commissioners or federal commissioners appeared at the Senate, she informed the Senate that they haven't received a penny for Samuel Tuer. So the problems are getting complicated by the day. If we have a government that is on an obligation to ensure that they fund the work of the commission so that we can have the commission be equipped enough to conduct the election in a timely, peaceful, and fair manner, then we need to be shifting the conversation, because it has to be either that the government is undermining the capability of the commission to organize a free, fair, and transparent election by not providing the funding they need. The next thing I want to raise, Stephen, we're in the month of April, and historically, April is very significant to Liberia. A lot of atrocities have been committed in the month of April. And talking about April, I'm reminded of thousands of persons who died from the Res Riot to the 1980 coup, from the 1980 coup to April 6, 1996, when faction loyal to Taylor and Roosevelt Johnson turned Monroe into a battle zone and people died. And Stephen, years after this event, there's no national memorial. There's no national memorial. Countries that have experienced civil insurgency, one way by which they have tried to avoid repeating the mistakes of the past is to memorialize those events so that prosperity can come and read through the pages of history, not just by reading history, but also going to the museum to see physically what happened there. That alone, if you have any plan or any determination to cause insurrection, will say no, it's not good. When you go to Rwanda, the genocide that killed thousands of persons, they have the remains of the persons in the museum. You go there, you view it. There has to be a national memorial for Liberia. A government after government would talk this thing. People talk about, the establishment of the War Crime Code, it has overshadowed everything. And that's what I said the other day. The TRC report is very rich. Talk about national memorial. People who died. Wouldn't they memorialize the war victims? As we can be a country with no memory of the past. And we just go into history. We just go in. Nothing. So where are we? So how do we even tell people who are now reading Liberian history in high school that you can make a field trip to the National Museum to see what happened on April 6, 1996? When do we do that? And, it's kind of frustrating that we are a country with no symbol of yesterday tragedy, and so therefore we are just vulnerable. Reconciliation is in limbo. Justice for war victims is in limbo. Even to memorialize Liberians who die is a problem for us. What kind of country are we? Thank you.
Very, 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 very important point there, Daniel. It's something we have to pay attention to. Something that is important in the healing process. It's part of the healing process. This is why even here in the U.S. after 9/11, we see that at Ground Zero there is a place there where the people go, and every year 9/11 comes, they go there and pay tribute to people who lost their life in a silly terrorist attack here in the U.S. In Liberia, we don't have such. Even our graveyards have been bastardized. They've been treated as trash cans, dump sites. Palm Grove Cemetery, with its historical importance, has been treated like a dump site. Some of our former presidents were buried there. Some of our historical people were buried there. But today we've not been able. And somebody said to me, when you want to know how serious the country is, visit the cemetery. How they treat the dead is a clear indication of how they will treat the living. But thank you. Pia, what's trending? And let me announce on the show that Real Madrid is leading Barcelona 4-0 at the Camp Nou.
Well, since you decided to mention that, you're not going to go free. So Barca has basically dragged you out of La Liga. You're not going to smell La Liga. Last season you called Copa del Rey Tomato Cup. Now you're celebrating Copa del Rey. You're winning Copa del Rey at the expense of Barca not having her full squad and you having 100% your full squad. And it also comes after Barca have beat you 5 times back to back. So I thought you would be ashamed rather than even talking about that. You have a team without Dembele, without Christensen, without Pedri, all these starting aggressive players. And you got all your Benzema, Vinicius, everybody.
I mean, you wore all these people last week. So just leave that talk.
What are you talking here? Last week I had Christensen in my defense. He's not there. He's the central defense.
He never had Lewandowski.
So you should not have even gone there because it's been 5 times back to back before you're winning this one pitiful thing for Copa del Rey. So let's go to serious issue. So Speaker Buffer Chambers, I don't know whether he's Chambers or Chamber. He's been in the U.S. along with the political leader of the Liberty Party. I think the business they came for should be over because I heard the Liberty Party political leader is en route back to Liberia. But as it is with many Liberian officials, when they come to the US and the main thing they come from is finish, they just grab things and just walk around, just go anywhere. You know, the same Liberian mentality. In Liberia, anybody can try to walk to your office with no appointment. They just think that because they be person or their family, when they get there, they're going to enter. So Buffer Chambers purposed to have visited the LISCA. LISCA runs our Liberia Maritime Program. So no invitation, no appointment. Speaker Chambers walked to LISCA office. LISCA is in a building with several suites. So people have different offices there, but LISCA is just in a suite in that building. So when he had access to the building from downstairs, and when he arrived on the floor that the LISCA suite was on, he came across this fellow who was on his way out. He introduced himself to the fellow that he's Buffer Chambers, the speaker from Liberia, and that he was trying to locate the LISCA office. So the fellow asked him, knowing what the protocols are over there, whether he had an appointment. He said, no, like I said, I'm the speaker, so I'm just passing by, just a visitation. These people run our maritime program. So the fellow took him to the decks of the receptionist. He introduced himself as Speaker Chambers, and the lady asked him a simple question. Sir, do you have an appointment? He said, no, I don't have an appointment, but like I said, I'm the speaker of the legislature in Liberia. I'm visiting the US, so I just thought to stop by to pay a visit. And the lady said, well, sorry, sir, without an appointment, we cannot allow you, we cannot grant you access. So he and the grad, they talk, and the guy said, no, that's a standing protocol. You don't have an appointment yet, so there's nobody scheduled to meet you. So we can just usher you in because you're speaker. So in the end, he knew that it was not possible, and then he decided to walk away. So when he left, the next morning, the fellow who directed him, in fact, the fellow did not just direct him, the fellow walked him to the receptionist. So when the fellow returned to work the next morning, he was issued a letter of termination. The fellow was dismissed. The fellow is a Liberian. He is one of the many program officers there. This got dismissed him for leading Speaker Chambers to the decks of the receptionist, even though the person who had the authority to decide whether Speaker Chambers will be ushered into LISCA's offices for the purpose of his quote-unquote visit, the person did not do it, and therefore he did not enter. He just stopped at the reception desk after he was denied. But LISCA still chose to fire this person. I can't say much about that because I don't know what their policies are. He reached out to me and I told him, well, good enough, this is America. So you could seek redress through the law. But I don't know what your policies are, whether in the view of your authorities, whether you were in breach of their policy by directing the speaker who had no appointment to the desk of the receptionist. But my reading into it, besides the general thing now that this fellow have been dismissed, I hope he can find some redress, is sometimes some of the things we get used to back home, we think it can work everywhere. You know, you don't just walk to offices because of your title. You speak in Liberia. Yes, LISCA manages your maritime program here, but it does not mean that because you are a Liberian official, you come to the US, you can walk to LISCA office at will and just want to see people. Who are you going to see there? If you don't have an appointment, who are you going to see there? And so based on the people's own protocol, the person you met at reception said, no, you don't have an appointment and therefore we can't take you in. Is that a lesson that people can learn? Yes. Even if Liberia or institutions in Liberia are doing businesses with individuals or entities here, you don't have the authority because of the position you occupy from Liberia to come to just walk there at will, and you think they'll just let you into their offices. To do what? To walk around or to say, oh, I passed by to speak or what? They're not looking for people to speak to them. If you go in there, you got to go there for a purpose, and that purpose has to be arranged, and you have to have an appointment. Unfortunately, our speaker did not have any appointment. In his opinion, his position as speaker, which makes him the third powerful person in Liberia, is a lesson to just grab to enter anywhere, especially in the primacy of an entity that is managing some program one way or the other for them. And that was a miscalculation. In fact, somebody who confided in me who worked the scene indicated to me that this girl who was preventing him was very disrespectful in addressing him and standing her ground as to why she could not usher our speaker into the office because he had no appointment and therefore he was not needed there. I hope that can be a lesson for other Liberian officials. When you travel here, don't just come out and walk into people's offices when they're not expecting you, when you don't have an appointment, because they will not care about your status. They will execute the rules that they have at their entity. That Bishop thing we got in Liberia, it doesn't mean it works everywhere. You Bishop in Liberia, you're not Bishop here. Even if you Bishop here, even the very US Congress that you came to, you were there because you were invited to participate in an occasion. If you had no basis going there, and you claim that step, security people who come here across will ask you, sir, where are you going? You got to tell them why you're going. Do you have an appointment? If you say, I'm going to see this person, this lawmaker, this congressman, they're going to be concerned about whether you have an appointment. If you don't have, obviously they will not do. So LISCA is no exception. Yes, they run your program, but you're not the head of Maritime. If the head of Maritime is coming to America, I guess he will make all the contact with LISCA. If he's supposed to meet them, they will have an appointment. When he walks there, they're going to accept him. But you don't just walk in because you're speaker. So that was what happened, I think, 2 or 3 days ago. And it was brought to my attention. I just thought to flag it. And finally, we need to pay attention to Maryland. And it makes me to think about President Talbot when he had to put a lot of people to death by hanging for killing. The Yanceys were involved in all of these things. Since that period, it appears ritualistic killing has not stopped in Maryland County. A student at TC, the students are always targeted, I don't know why. They got missing for a good number of times. They've been looking for him. They didn't know what happened. Wanted to discover this guy dead, all parts removed from him. And this is so consistent and constant in that part of our country. Talbot, using the law, took that decisive action. And you would think that such an action would have discouraged people who see ritualistic killing as a way of life. That hasn't. They keep targeting innocent people, innocent students. Some of these kids don't live in that place. They're just there to attend the school. And rather than achieving their goal of being an educated person, always fall in the trap of being ritualistic killers who see killing human beings as a pleasurable thing. Whatever the reasons are, they know. And I think that the authorities of our country should pay attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Pia. Speaking about Maryland, I think they've been in the news lately. The university there at Maryland County, that's the Tubman University. They've been hit by series of challenges, and the reason I want us to start with this is since it's piggybacking from what Pia talked about Maryland. Let me just play a little clip here. Let's take a listen at some of the issues happening there.
The public on issues happening on the campuses of the university. We have just concluded an extraordinary General Assembly in which decisions were made, and these decisions were made in the interest of the students, the university as a whole, and the faculty association. For more than 2 months, the university has been in complete darkness. This lack of electricity has affected the learning conditions on campuses. There is no functioning bathroom. Faculty members have to fetch water from wells that are almost dried. We go to the extent of going outside of campus to fetch water, to charge our gadgets, which puts us in harm's way. This has continued and continues to date. We have written administration on several occasions, but they have failed to act, even after making promises.
So there you have it. Yeah, you listen to faculty at the Tubman University there in Harper. No running water, no electricity. The computer lab that should be run by power is down. Students, teacher, before they got to go in the butchers now to ease themselves. And this is consistent with what's happening across the country. But yet and still, we have a government that has reduced itself to just a mere beggar. And I would like to condense this. Today we saw pictures of the government receiving 29,000 bag of rice from Saudi Arabia. When you as a government don't value yourself, don't value your prestige, your standard, everybody just take it for granted. The last time the Saudi donated, what's the thing name? Dates. Date palm. Muhammad Ali was calling it sugar palm now.
Yeah, just say sugar palm for Apuro on us.
Yeah, the last time they donated sugar palm nut to you. Today they're giving you 29,000 bag of rice that cannot even feed a district, and you have your internal affairs minister, your foreign minister, they all probably in the photo. A desert nation like Saudi is donating 29,000 bag of rice to you, and all of your official government, they're there happy. This is how our country has been reduced to nothing under this government. What do you make of this? Let me start with you, Daniel, on this one. What do you make of all of these things happening? The appalling condition at the state university in Hapo, government being irresponsible in terms of making the case for our country out there. A lot of countries looking at Liberia to just be like a beggar country that they can just donate even donga flare and just anything because you're desperate, you don't make any sufficient case or argument to really convince other nations what kind of assistance you need. So they just give you anything. They give you sugar palm now, they give you a few bags of rice, and your officials are happy, excited about that. What is happening to our country, Daniel?
So, Stephen, the question, to answer your question, I'll put it into four. First, I will deal with the condition of the condition at the Tubman University in Maryland. Before I go to Liberia image on the international stage, I think the other day we sat here and we talked about how the so-called free tuition policy is having a very negative effect on government-run institutions of learning. We've said this, and even when the plenary of the Liberian Senate invited the administration of the University of Liberia to talk about how the free tuition policy has affected the University of Liberia, they said that the fact that the government has not been able to fully fund the budget of the university, the free tuition policy was hampering the growth and development of the University of Liberia. And that problem is not just with the University of Liberia. That problem is with other government-run institutions across the country. Because we realize that some of the subsidy that government gave to the institution in the national budget, are very infinitesimal to show that the overhead costs, least to say the day-to-day operational cost of the agency. Very infinitesimal. So what you are now realizing is the outcome of a knee-jerk policy that was instituted by the WIA government, not well thought through, but it just did it for the public, for the sake of public relations stunt. Oh yeah, the president got free tuition policy, but how is it impacting the quality of education that will be delivered at this institution of learning? Is another problem. Yes, the free tuition policy is good, but now you don't have the university being able to say, for example, when they appeared at plenary liberation, they said that the money that was being collected for registration fees was being used to fund the day-to-day operations of the university. Now it's no more. It's no more. And same thing is now happening to Tubman University. I think to a greater extent, this is very embarrassing. And with all of the boasts the government is talking about, free tuition policy, they should be able to ensure that people who go to school, acquire quality education, got a credential, are being hired at a public institution to be well catered to. For this man to be saying that the university is shut down because there's no running water, there's no electricity, because the administration cannot even give $100 every month to maintain the transformer got damaged. Now they even went to the attempt to get another transformer has even led to corruption allegation and everything. It's very much unfortunate. But on the overall, it speaks to the ill preparedness of the WIA government to provide leadership for the country. Because when we talk about leadership, it's not just from the executive marshal angle. It's about how your policy, how the government policy can positively impact the country as a whole. The people who are the end user of the government policy that has now backfired at Tubman University are the ordinary Liberians who do not have money to go to private run university. Okay, so it is very much terrible. And talking about the image of our country on the international scene, and I listened to you when you talk about how Saudi Arabia the other day gave Liberia 500,000 tons of sugar palm oil and everything. Now they brought rice here. Let me tell you, Stephen, the international system is structured in a way that there are computing interests. And I was talking to somebody on the grounds of the Capitol yesterday. I said the reason why Liberia became an investment hub, an investment bonanza, we attracted foreign direct investment. CDC book and say 60 billion and everything, because you had a government that was very strategic in making Liberia case to the international community. right? So fast forward to the Weah era. Why you don't have this a government that is very much unable? The Weah government has proven to be very incapable of making a convincing case for Liberia. That's the reason why you see all we get, I mean, as a country, a sugar panel from our foreign partners. Saudi Arabia is a very rich country. It's a very rich country. Rich, I mean, the oil deposit in Saudi Arabia cannot be compared to any across the world. Very rich country. So if they want to assess Liberia in terms of bilateral and multilateral agreement, should it be in terms of 29,000 bags of rice? As if to say the country is experiencing drought and pestilence, that the foreign minister of the country will go stay in the warehouse and take picture. You know, when we were growing up, we hear the Taiwanese government gave Liberia 50,000 bags of rice. It was quite understandable, because by then Liberia was going through some of the difficult period in your history. We had a civil war. We had a government that was very, very much low in terms of ranking in the international setting. You had a warlord presiding, even though he was democratically elected president. But not too many persons want to do business with Taylor. Okay, but in the case of Mr. Weah, he just incapable of making Liberia case. And look at the lieutenants that we are entrusted with the foreign policy of the country. D. Maxwell Kimia, a man with very low prestige, a man who faced, I mean, sexual abuse charges in the United States of America. So how can this man navigate his way through the complex international system to make a convincing case for Liberia? So the output of inciting incapable people who do not have the confidence, the requisite experience to represent Liberia in the international system is what you get now by Saudi Arabia, a very rich country, giving you 29,000 bags of rice. This has never happened before. So we can only hope that as we engage the election, some of these things are going to be more highlighted, because you see the protests across the various ministries and agencies. I mean, the protests growing by day. You see now Tubman University, the faculty association, they are speaking out. Why? Because we are approaching election. So this is a time where we're going to throw light on all of these issues, because it borders on the incapability of the Weah government to do the right thing for the country, which for me, I think is beyond description. We have sat here all this while we're talking about it, and there's no improvement in the system. There's no improvement in the system. I mean, think that Liberia getting to the 9,000 bag of rice from Saudi Arabia, should it be publicized? What does the government seek to achieve by publicizing the donation of 29,000 bags of rice by the Saudi government to Liberia? What do they stand to achieve? What can 29,000 bags of rice do to the Liberian population? The president is going to divide our rice among his cabinet ministers. Maybe they're going to carry 10,000 bags of CDC off headquarters, the distribute among the seditionists, and give to the various lawmakers. It's not going to reach to the ordinary people across the country. So there was no need to even publicize such a demeaning information. It's already demeaning. We are a sovereign country. If we will go to engage a country like Saudi Arabia to have bilateral conversation as to how they can assess us, we should talk about. So look, we have challenge in the electricity sector. We want the Saudi government to assist us in the area. Okay, Liberia is experiencing drought and pestilence, and you come to give up 29,000 bags of rice, and the government go to make a PR stunt out of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Muna, what's your take on that?
Well, all we can say is that if you are poor mentally, then you will be poor physically. Most of our people back home are mentally poor. They don't know, like we can say in our Liberian English, small thing can fool our eyes. Like, take for instance, our Liberian women. You going out with a man, the man give you small money, you say, oh, that man, that my everything, you ready to give your all to him. Unlike the Nigerian and the Ghanaian girls, they will rape that man clean before the man can see even one night. So it's our mentality, is what we do to ourselves. What is, I don't know how many thousand bags of rice that people will go and publish.
On the 9,000, they can't even feed a district.
No, it can't even feed a district. And now they are making noise about it all over the place. It just reminds me, the whole thing it's not just we are government or we are time that it started, Stephen. Let's go back. I heard Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf Sona, her State of the Nation address one time, when she mentioned that car wash right to the junction at the Oro Junction. She mentioned that she empowered those boys. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? That car washer right there, one Yana boy in Liberia can get vest and build that place. Then a whole president of a nation will go and put it in her Sona, where she addressed the Senate and called that and referred to that as one of her achievements. It just shows, and these are people who live abroad. They saw what car wash really is. They saw and used other activities, other facilities. Why would they go to Liberia and bring us down? Because I see that as I've been living in Liberia, in America for like 4 years now, since 2019. I go around and for every time I see a development, all I think about is my country back home. I say, if I can have the means, I will do this. If I can have the means, I will do this back home. Go away for open mindset. Go home and do something big. You can't, this thing has nothing to do with the weird people. Weird has already failed. So what he's trying to do is to show himself out there. They're trying, it's like when a drowning man is trying to grab at something. They are drowning, so they can grab at anything that is necessary right now. So if they find 29,000 bags of rice, of course, that's a stake they can grab on because they are drowning. But let's compare the weird government to the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf government. This woman received a lot of aids from outside, unlike President Weah. What did they do? Her son ran the oil company, and at the end of the day, she came to us and told us that she take responsibility. Are you kidding me? This thing is something that has been going on in Liberia from time immemorial. People take us to be foolish. People take us to be nothing. People who have the mindset to do well, they step on them and raise those people who will only come with big talk. Yeah, we can do it. We do it. Yeah, look, it was under whose regime they built that overhead bridge at the LU there, the UL there.
Taylor.
Yes. And when they call that other butcher for you, only God knows what will happen. Who used that overhead bridge? Nobody used it. At the end of the day, it was just another set of resources that was wasted. At the end of the day, they had to clear it out of there. Liberia, if we really, really want to have a new day, we have to have a new mindset. We have to come with seriousness. We can't be thinking $5 and then we think we can give a $1 million output. It starts from your mind. George Weah go to Ghana. He built whatever bad buildings and everything for the girls that he got there. When he come to Liberia, he get in one piece of government job. Then they can do anything for him. They will do anything for him. How do you call that? We have to start to value ourselves. We have to start to know that Liberia is all we have, and we can't feel comfortable anywhere else but home. Some of us who only came here because, by God's grace, we had to be here before because of our mouth. They do something to us back home. But we want to be home. We want to go home. We want to improve our country. Liberia can only be improved if we change our mind. If our mindset changed. We can't do it by thinking small. We can't do it by breaking other people down, one another down, like what I see us doing here to one another here in the US. We obey all the rules here because we feel we are supposed to obey it. Once we get home, it is business as usual for us. That's wrong. Yesterday, I heard or not yesterday, Monday, I heard Auntie Miata saying something about if somebody complain about the registration and you should go early instead. No, if somebody complain, let's do something about it. Instead of the people, if people say they are there to register 100 people, that shouldn't be the case. But anyway, Pierre spoke to that, and I think that was the right answer he gave to that, because you can't say as a commission you come to work in a day and you are just there to register just 100 persons. That's not right. We got to act, and not just act, pray at the same time for this country. Liberia, we have a very, very small mindset, and that's what has been killing us. And another thing again, I really want to bring to us Liberians, let us stop bringing Liberia down with our mouths. Liberia is a foolish country. Liberia, I even want to repeat it. Let us bring Liberia up with our mouths. Liberia is all we got. Instead of insulting Liberia all the time, of course we can say Liberia is in a state of mess. But Liberia is not a mess. If Liberia was a mess, I won't be here, because I'm not a mess. Liberia produced me, Muna Mariah Kupule Ahmed Berry, and I'm not a mess. So Liberia cannot be a mess. But Liberia is in a state of mess because of the leadership it has had all along. Bad leaderships. People who only want to go and get from her and cannot give back to her. People who only want to abuse her. Let's start a new day. Let's turn a new page for Liberia. This thing is not just on we are alone. It's on from previous government to now. We don't have the right mindset, so we cannot do anything big. We can't go any further because of our mindset. Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very good observation. I think it's good that we can talk about it. Those are issues affecting Liberia as a nation, and except that the difference between previous government and now is that this government hasn't shown any fortitude, any desire to want to transform anything. Even as despotic as the Doe regime was, we saw that Doe in his failure to provide the kind of governance we expected, had a plan. He was more concerned about removing government ministries from private buildings and stuff like that. We started seeing the emergence of public buildings. We started seeing the SKD, other national development happening. Under this government, we don't see first any real plan, any real national development.
This is not a government, Stevie. This is a cult. I want to try to bring from time immemorial, trying to compare it.
But say Muna, you made a statement, the moderator speaking, you can be going back to back. He's not having his own observation, you got to come back to respond. Yeah,
okay. I'm sorry for that, but I just saying that this is a cult. I don't consider this a government. Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, understandable. I was just saying that. So this government, and most of the time, since we've been very involved with the governance of Liberia over the last 20-25 years, the previous government, nobody will argue that it was a paradise. Liberia was a paradise. But at the same time, one can make the point that that government was able to achieve a great deal of things that have set the basis for which we thought we will excel. Whether it was improving our institutions, setting up strong institutions, expanding our revenue base, engaging in national development across the country. Those were things that they didn't benefit from, because when they took over in 2006, you had a failed state. The country was a failed country. Everything had collapsed. Your healthcare, your economy, your social infrastructure, your medical facility. Everything was at zero. And so that government had to move a country that was already 140 some or 50 years old, had turned into a failed state. In 12 years, it had a mandate to first regain the country's image amongst the community of nations. For somebody to value you as a Liberian, value your passport, value your contribution globally. That government had to fight first for you to. It's not like in America you have a bad credit, a $4.3 billion in debt. Nobody could afford to credit you with a bad credit score. They had to fight to remove all of those poor credit rating. You were in Liberia like myself. You saw Broad Street. Broad Street were like you're driving in Lima, or maybe you're driving in the southeast. Civil servant had not been paid for over 38 months. We had only 50 doctors in the country. The University of Liberia were running a semester a year. Civil servants were being paid $15 as a director, $15 a month. They were taking paid twice a year, January, July, and December. So those were things that were happening, in the country. And so one of the things I thought was after the previous government, I thought we had it made for him. I thought we had the previous government had positioned Liberia for success, and that we will capitalize on that foundation and move the country. Unfortunately, the country has gone into a reverse gear. Nothing seems to work. Everything is upside down. The civil service can't get paid. Salary cut. When other time salary were going up, now people cutting pay. So all these things, were happening. I just thought to make that point. Why I agree with you that we usually settle for mediocre things as a Liberian or as Liberians. I also agree with that we settle for mediocre things, and that's why we've reduced the bar, and our expectation is this low. So every time we think we see this as a huge achievement, when you juxtapose that to other countries, nothing. How many countries go around the world for assistance? Somebody gave them 29,000 bags of rice or 50 metric tons of dates or a gallon of oil, those kind of things. Those are philanthropic things that any NGO can get. USAID, Mercy Crop Action is. Those are things they can negotiate. But for a whole nation to be giving 29,000 bags of rice that can barely feed a district, the whole country consumes about 1 million bags of rice a month. So 29,000 bags can not even feed a district for a week. But that, be that as it may, that's the kind of government we are faced with, and that's why we come here every day to fight for that to change. So let me come to you, Pia. Pia, what's your take before we move to the next conversation?
So it's good that you use the word in next conversation. So my first observation is that we have to the way people can get to admire the show and believe we're doing the right thing is if we come and announce this is our topic, we got to stick to the script. So what was your topic? Race and the deplorable situation at TC. If we don't focus on that, then we don't even talk about it and we go to other things, and it's not important to even use it as a topic in the first place. And the reason why you selected this topic or the organizer of the show selected it, because these are principal issues we want to lift. TC is a state-run university. The government of Liberia had deliberately proposed that higher institution of learning run by government will be free. If you say the schools are free and you can't even do the things you're supposed to do to run the school, that's an issue. And I guess that's why you brought it out to talk about it. Yeah, it's good to talk about what Charles Taylor didn't do, what Ellen didn't do. How is that important to now? The reason why people change government and you have democratic elections so that people can have their will is because if they believe that a regime failed them, they have an alternative. So let's agree that Ellen didn't do anything. Because we got to be careful, Stephen, because whether it's consciously or unconsciously, We cannot make any effort to enable we are. We cannot be seen in any way a funny justification for the massive failure and what the country has become. Because if PR is doing the wrong thing, and the way somebody approaches it is that this is not just about PR, it's about what Stephen did yesterday, about what Dupont did yesterday. In a way, you're enabling that person. The people who did who yesterday did that, what the people moved them for? The electorate in 2017 could choose to elect UP. They didn't elect UP because they didn't believe that giving them another term based on what they saw with them was okay. Fair enough. So if a new regime comes in, we are holding that regime accountable for one, what they said they would do for the people. Two, the same regime said that the other people was afraid that other people would give them chance. So if the wrong things are taking place, it's about them. So I don't accept when somebody say this, that, but we are. It's about him. He running our country. They're not Ellen running the country now. They're not anybody in the opposition running the country now. Yes, Ellen ran it her own time. They are running it. And if there are issues, those issues are about them. It's not about the people who ran it yesterday. You came to the people, you asked for their mandate, they give it to you. If the things you're supposed to do, you're not doing it, we can't say because it happened in other parts, so we're not just about these people. It's about them. When you raise a country budget, which they say now is around 800 million, who manages it? They manage it. Who making all the salary to run the country? They do it. For the first time in the history of the country, the president's office will take almost 20 million. I didn't see that happening in the past. In fact, they didn't have even up to 2 million because the whole budget was 80 million. This is the first time just president's office alone got 20 million budget. To do what? Fly out of the country for 95 days, for 50 days, for 48 days. So if these are issues we want to talk about, we can't say it's not about him. So it's about him, it's about his government. They failed the people. Like Daniel said, when you're launching public policy, you think through it. What did they look at when they said public university should be free? What did they look at? How is it that you made university free? You can't even provide electricity. Professors, they're talking about the place in darkness. You can't give electricity. You can pay teachers.
Water.
You can't no water running through. So if these are the issues we're talking about, what does it have to do with what other people did in the past? They are in charge. They got an 800 million budget. They just told that they got 50 billion from what kind of country is it getting 50 billion from?
UAE.
So they got to do what they're supposed to do. And if we're pointing it out, it is about them because what we're talking about is happening now. Doesn't mean that nothing bad happened in the past. Things happen in the past. Of what use is the thing? I mean, are the things that happen in the past to our current situation? Zero use. Because our current situation is our current situation. We got leaders who are supposed to address our current situation who are not addressing it. So I think what is happening with our education system in particular is bad. As to the arrest business, I ain't got time for that one. Somebody decided to give you 50 bag of rest. You want to celebrate it? That's your business. But I think the people know better. All right? Because 29,000 bag of rest, let's assume you want to divide it to the people. Let's just say you have a population of 5.something million people. 21,000, 29,000, even reach 50,000. How many people can have it? So what a sensible government would do, if I was in that government, we send out rest to hospitals, orphanages. Yeah, those are places you send it, care centers. You don't do anything else with it. But no, they will not do it. They will not send it to hospitals. They will not send it to orphanages.
They might rebag it with purple.
They will rebag it, put their name on it, and give it to their partisan, give it to sedition. Or use it as they go on their campaign tour. When they reach into this place, they're donating 50 bag of rest as a campaign weapon. That's not the intent of the people who distributed those things. They want to help. It's not much, yes. 29,000 bag of rest. It's not much. If you use it for the right purpose, with the right intent, it makes an impact. And like I said, that right intent could be hospitals feed their patients every day. Send the rest there. People struggling to take care of people who ain't got children, ain't got parents, ain't got their orphan. Send it to the orphanages. There are some schools that got school feeding program. Send some there. If you did that, you're doing the right thing. They're not going to do all of those things I'm talking about. So that's just my take on it, Stevie.
Thank you, Bia. And I think you raised a good thing. And speaking about the free tuition policy, we all know that free tuition policy happened on the back of a protest. When students of the University of Liberia had protests against the government's failure to support the university, the president Weah, along with Samuel Toy and other guys, sat out there and just announced tuition free. That's why we said, even as sophisticated as America is, with all of its wealth, college education is not free. And there's a reason behind it. The reason why college education is not free in many countries is because the cost, when you attach cost to something, you attach value to it. When you attach cost to something, you attach value to it. That's why when people go to Ivy League schools in America, and not necessarily because they're teaching way better than our school or they have a different curriculum. But yeah, get mute a little bit. I'm getting some feedback from you. It's not because they have a better curriculum or something, but it's because the cost associated with it gives it an extra value that they're forced as professor, as teacher, as school administrator to go beyond what a traditional school would do, and it adds value to it. Now, the University of Liberia, I had taught as a rational government, instead of you just saying university education was free all across the board, you needed to attach some form of incentive to free education. So, for instance, we say if you score 3.0 GPA a semester, you qualify for free education. That means you're now forcing students to study. Instead, you just say, generally across the board, university education free. So now there's no incentive. I go to school this semester, I fail, I don't worry because next semester I get a free school, free tuition. I'm not paying. I come back next semester and do my 21 credit and repeat those courses. So any serious government will have said, look, let's assign value to free education. Let's assign a premium on free education. Let's say for you to qualify for free education, you must meet a certain grade point average. That would have been reasonable. But for you to just wake up one morning with a knee-jerk reaction and say tuition free all across the country for tertiary education, public schools, and at the end of the day, the schools are not even, they are free of education, in fact. Can I even take care of basic university need, like water, stationaries, to run a generator? All these basic things cannot even happen. But yet instead you say you're running free education. But let me leave that as it is. Let's move to this Farmington Declaration. I have a different view about this whole Farmington Declaration thing, and I hope we can have a very good conversation here regarding it. Now, the Farmington Declaration is it's almost like a peace accord or like a pledge signed by political actors, the government, civil society, and political parties. A pledge against non-violent election. So all of the political actors will go to a place called Farmington. If you're not familiar, Farmington is the river towards the RIA around the, there's a hotel there called Farmington Hotel. It's built right on the Farmington River. And so they converge there with the National Elections Commission, ECOWAS, the African Union, and all other actors, including political leaders, civil society organizations. And then they sign to say, we pledge to a non-violent election. I have a different view. My view on it is that the fact that we take political party every election cycle to go and sign a pledge shows that our democracy hasn't matured. That we're compared to sign pledges that we commit to non-violent election. Now, the person who should sign that pledge or who should be committing, not the political parties, is the government. Political party will only react when they feel cheated. And so the government has a responsibility to maintain the peace. And that responsibility in the election year is tied towards having a free, fair, transparent, and credible elections. Until we can do that, until we can push for a free, fair, and transparent, credible elections by the government, signing a pledge or committing political parties to a non-violent, appears to me that in the event where these political parties feel cheated, they've already obligated themselves to a pledge of non-violence, meaning that they cannot now go in the street, protest, cause chaos in the country. They have to go through a court system that is already rigged. They have to go through a court system that's already rigged. And so when you go to the elections in October and you are cheated there, the only means you have to your disposal is to go through the court system. And you're now obligating yourself to a court system that is rigged. I had thought, in my view, what should have been signed at Farmington should have been that the government must commit to a free, fair, transparent, and credible election, that the government must sign a commitment to the Liberian people that will ensure that we will give you a free, fair, transparent, and credible election. That's the kind of commitment I thought I would see. Not for political parties to commit to non-violence, but for the government to sign a document and say, I promise the Liberian people that the elections in October will be free, fair, and transparent, and credible. That is my take. And I listened to Ambassador Boaka. He made a very strong argument. He made a very compelling argument on behalf of the political party. And one of the things he emphasized on is the issue of having a free, fair, transparent, and credible elections. And elections that will lead us into a result based on the decision of the Liberian people and not the decision of a few commissioners at the neck. So this is the conversation, guys, and this is what has happened. I'll start with Pia on this one. Pia, what's your take on this whole Farmington Declaration, the political actors committing to a non-violent elections, and the government's own role in all of this?
Well, unlike you, I don't have a problem with people coming together to commit themselves to non-violence election. I don't have a problem, except that I don't believe that alone is enough. And I also believe that there are other things that are more important than that. Why I think there's nothing wrong with that. One of the things we ought to be very committed to is to commit ourselves to free, fair, transparent, and credible election. That is very important. And the freeness, the fairness, and the transparency of the election also will include if the election is free of violence. So the fact that you won an election without violence is a part of a package. But that package should be bigger than just wanting a violence-free election. Because obviously, if the election is characterized by violence, it's not free. People will not have a chance to go around the country to campaign. They may not be free to go in communities. Parties, people from different parties have been attacked from people from the other party. If we want to mind the credibility, the transparency, and the honesty of the election. So I agree that that's a good initiative. But if it is not complemented by other actions that will ensure that the elections are free, then it's a waste of time. And it is from this point that I want to challenge ECOWAS, the UN, and all of them who are involved with the Farmington Declaration. I wish that they can do some other things that will ensure that we have an election that is credible. Because one thing that they ought to know is even if the elections were without violence, if the elections are not free, if they are not fair, and they are not credible, and therefore they got the capacity to spark violence after the elections, then it didn't matter whether during the election you have violence. Because sometimes the violence that comes after election can be more damaging than the ones that come during the election. And we've seen it in Liberia's history.
Yeah, and it's continuous.
1985, the elections were rigged. The violence that came was not protest. The violence that came was that people took guns. And they woke up so in the morning on November 12th and say elections were rigged. So we have come to overthrow the Samuel Doe government. When the government succeeded in quashing that, the same people reorganized with some new elements. They came by in 1990. That violence was bigger than even the Rick election because in the end of it, 250,000 souls perished. So I commend the organizers, but I think there's a need to go beyond and pay more attention to ensuring that the elections are free. While we are here, people were there signing Farmington Declaration committing to violence-free election, the people are back and forth in Yeka-Koluma district causing chaos. It's a kind of contradiction. You got as Cynthia said in the first instance, the obligation to ensuring the stability and peace of the country rests more with the government than anybody else. But strangely, it is the government or its agents that are always in different provocative actions, trying to spark violence. Not just this time around. We saw it with T.B. Ayure. We saw it with Colonial Crack. We saw it even with Dillon. We've seen it with Yeket. And all of those instances that mean nothing was investigated, nothing was concluded, nobody was punished. So if you get barely with your lips, go to Farmington and say, we have committed ourselves and we have signed to ensure that elections are violence-free. But meanwhile, we're still seeing elements of the CDC, including officials like Jefferson Koji and other leading people going to District 10 to cause chaos. Then the people who facilitate it, they should get taught to go beyond that, to know that it's not just sufficient to put people together in one small room. And then also, you got to be inclusive. So is it good to say, okay, UP commit that they will not have violence? CDC commit, ANC commit, but the EFFL does not commit? I thought you should be more committed to having everybody sign saying you want to hold everybody by that standard than discouraging people. I don't know what the facts are. I heard the EFFL men saying they stopped them from attending because they said they were in party paraphernalia. How is that an issue? Political parties were gathering. If you didn't tell them that there was a specific dress code for the occasion, why do you have a problem with people appearing there in their EFF uniform or T-shirt? That is no justification for stopping people who you want to sign because you want to have everybody commit themselves to what you did at Farmington. How does that help your cause when your security people stop another political institution that have been registered by the very election commission, recognized under the laws of Liberia? How does it enable us to have everybody committed to the same thing when you stop them from signing? The fact that they're not signed, they're not obligated to it. So everybody else can try to seek peace and avoid violence, right? But EFFL can go ahead and do anything they want to do. Is that what you're saying? So they just got to use their head and think. Governance is not child play. It's a serious matter. And people who are involved, we got to think. If you're not thinking, you're doing so funny things around, then you're wasting everybody else's time. But I hope the international people pay more attention to how free, fair, and credible our elections will be than just a small subset of not wanting violence during the election. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you. Let me come to you, Mona, on this. And my question to you is, ECOWAS has been, we credit them a larger extent for the peace in Liberia, but of recent, since the WIA administration, we've seen ECOWAS to a larger extent playing games with the Liberian people. First, I remember the June 7 protests. They didn't want it to happen. Subsequent protests, they didn't want it to happen. Now, and even after the death of all of the auditors, the Bating Ninswa, Mafi Inez, and all of the secret killings that have been happening in Liberia, we've never one day woke up to ECOWAS expressing fear in the country. Now, somebody made a comment on a post, on a podcast. Costa was doing a podcast, and somebody made a comment and just said, we hope that Jefferson Koji should go after the ECOWAS ambassador. And we saw her come up and express fear for her life. How do we, and you come from ECOWAS with me, how do we take ECOWAS seriously when killings are happening in the country that They cannot speak about rampant corruption, loot, and all of the things we see. U.S. government bringing sanction against government officials. ECOWAS is quiet. We've seen ECOWAS in the sub-region in countries where the government decides to change the constitution. They remain quiet. Now they see ECOWAS is coming to us saying we should commit to a non-violent election. We've seen what's happening in other countries like Nigeria, other places. How can Liberians be assured that to what we commit to is something very genuine, and that we'll now wake up one morning after the election and we feel cheated and ECOWAS start congratulating George Weah or whosoever that they've won the elections?
Well, the whole thing about the Farmington Declaration for me is, I don't see any, for me, it's not necessary, because we are not at war in the first place. That's number one for me. What I thought ECOWAS and UN would have addressed was the scam of a census. The whole census was a scam. This whole voter registration thing is a scam. How can you have a peaceful election outside of pointing out that the census was a scam? Everything that have happened with the voters registration and the census from day one is linked to the elections. So if you come together now, they have a body of standard bearers coming together to say, political parties coming together to sign a declaration, it doesn't make sense to me. When the main issue on the ground is that nothing has been done the right way from the very onset. And then coming to your question, ECOWAS, I think ECOWAS has lost their standing in time. I don't know, people are the ones who make up an organization. And if the people who are supposed to be responsible for a particular thing, if they are not exercising that responsibility, there is no way anything right will be done in that organization. ECOWAS had it from the beginning. They were there. They went to Burkina Faso. They set a pace there. But all along in Liberia, like you regularly said, they have not really protected the Liberian people. They have gone against their mandate and the what they stand for time immemorial. So I can't tell you that or Liberia should be able, we should depend on ECOWAS for any reason, and not even the UN, because UNFPA is also backing the census. UNFPA is authenticating the census, which is a scam. We all know it is a complete scam. So why should our standard bearer go along with other political parties to sign a peace treaty? How does it help us? We are going to an election that has already been decided. And nobody has spoken to us, and nobody has said anything concerning that. And they are talking about free and fair and violence-free election. Are you serious? That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen outside of them addressing this scam of a census. They have to address that. This whole thing about peace is a process. You have to have a basis. You have to have a base before you can have peace. If somebody, one person is there, it's like, Stephen, you're sitting there, I come and slap you. Then Daniel is telling us, Stephen, we want peace in a place here. We want peace. But I keep slapping you. Daniel is not addressing the slap that I'm giving you. All he's telling you, Stephen, is that we want peace. So how can we have peace outside of that? It's not realistic. It's not realistic. It's something that UN and ECOWAS and all of the other bodies supposed to speak to us, especially that census thing. The UNFPA is not being friends with us. They are an enemy of Liberia. We're supposed to stand up to them. The Unity Party is supposed to see to that. The LP and other opposition, they're supposed to see to it that this census thing is addressed. The last time the Unity Party is he the Secretary General, he came on here and he said something that something was going to be done. We have not heard from him. He said he was going to come on the show, you know, for some time to give us the happiness of what's happening in the party. We have not seen anything. Pierre asked him to designate somebody to come to the show in order to be able to give us what's happening in the party. We have not seen that also. So outside of all of these things, you think peace or non-violence election will just rise up by itself? No, it's not going to happen. So that's my take on this whole Farmington thing. We can't depend on ECOWAS. We can't depend on the UN. Liberian people, we have the mantle in our hand to do what we want to do. If we want peace, we have to speak to where we know the wrong went on first. Then we can have peace. Then coming to so let me try to make something clear what Pierre said about this government. I'm not a fan of the we are government. I will never be a fan of that. What I was trying to say, we mentioned something about the rice. I was only trying to say the Liberian people, because of our mindset, it's not just about we are, it's a general thing. We know that we are is leaving. If we are leave, who's going to be in charge? Not Liberian people. It is the same Liberian people that are going to be in charge. We are doing everything we are doing on the show for we are to leave. But at the end of the day, we have to have something put in place for us not to be able to repeat what we are did and what the rest of the government did. We have to be able to move forward. That was what I mentioned. So let's lay that to rest. This Farmington thing is a scam for me. It doesn't make sense. Outside of addressing the census and the whole voter registration thing, that people will go to do their work in the morning, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, they take a greater number of to eat. When they finish, then they call 5 person, they call 10 person. This is a scam. Then the whole thing will end on the 9th. At the end of the day, we have a lot of people who will not be registering. It's not realistic. Are we see ourselves going to elections and being a free and fair elections? The same ECOWAS will come and announce we are the winner tomorrow. And what are we going to do when we already have signed a peace treaty with them? What will we do? Will we go and say ECOWAS know this? You're not supposed to announce we didn't win elections? It is now that we're supposed to tell them no. We can't wait for tomorrow to tell them no. So thank you.
Thank you, Mona. Very good, very valid points. Daniel, let me come to you. And in the statement read by Ambassador Bouaka, he spoke about a number of things that happened in 2017, and how the Supreme Court of Liberia ruled that there needed to be a number of changes in the way the elections was conducted. Now, you from the Liberty Party, your party led the lawsuit in challenging the results in 2017. The Supreme Court ruled that first the voter roll must be sanitized. All these things must happen. All these things got to happen. Changes at the Elections Commission and the way we've not seen. We've not seen that kind of radical reform as was suggested by the Supreme Court happening at the National Elections Commission. We still see the Elections Commission in the last few years. They've been playing the role of a partisan commission. We saw how they Sorry, somebody called me and they just disrupted. We saw how the very commission was playing a partisan role, denied the UP had to see redress at the Supreme Court before it was allowed. We've not seen all of these changes happen as was prescribed by the Supreme Court. Yet and stay, we're committing to having and election violence is not just pre-elections. There are post-election violence. And so when you commit to violence, you're committing all through the 9 years, both pre-post election violence. So even if you're cheated, you got to commit to doing the right thing going back. But we've not been able to see those changes along. What do you make of this? In the absence of all of these changes, going to the election, signing the same fundamental declaration that was signed in 2017, and nothing changed. What are your expectations? You muted, Daniel.
Stephen, it is true that the Liberty Party took a challenge to the results that were announced by the NEC under the chairmanship of Jerome Kokoya in 2017. Also in 2017, we accompanied Councillor Bromsky at the Farmington Hotel to sign up to the Farmington Agreement. Basically, you already stated the content of the agreement. But talking about what happened at the Supreme Court and the changes that we've seen or that NEC has not instituted as per the Supreme Court ruling, primarily, one of our arguments before the court was that there cannot be a credible elections without a credible voter roll. And what was on the question, a key part of our petition to the court in 2017 was the lack of credibility, the integrity of the voter roll. And in principle, the Supreme Court agreed with us. They said that, yes, from the review of the records, there were fraud, but the fraud in the award was not egregious enough to warrant the court to overturn the outcome of the election. And so therefore, they proceeded to instruct the NEC to go ahead with the runoff elections with conditions. Whether those preconditions have been met is one thing. One of the preconditions was that the NEC should proceed to clean the voter roll. The ECOWAS people came and said they were working jointly with the NEC and the political parties to clean the voter roll. I mean, that didn't prove to be fruitful because even in the by-election in district number 15, when Tida Uriah contesting in 2019, that by-election, there was some issue with the voter roll. I think you realize that
yeah, and the mother
the center that was in dispute, where they had to do the rerun of the election, there was a problem with most of the voter cards that were reported before by the adversary party to the NEC. That those voter cards were people who didn't live in the district. How they obtained the voter card was a matter of suspicion to Tida Uriah and her team. That concern was raised before the NEC. But I mean, talking about the precondition that the court also gave the NEC to proceed with cleaning the voter roll, we now have a biometric system as opposed to the manual system we had in 2017. So that's a step forward. And that's why the political parties on the RPCC platform have been pushing for the migration from the manual system to the biometric system. The biometric system basically, minimizes the possibility of multiple registration. So you see now, if you go to NEC, I was talking to my technical person yesterday from our party. When you go to NEC in the data center, they are sorting out all the names that went to register 2 times, right? That wouldn't have happened in the event of a manual registration, where you go to say, oh, my name is Stephen Johnson, you register in District 8, and then you go to District 12, you register. It wouldn't have happened. So right now, once a system is being synchronized, it will sort out all those data or information that appear 2 times. It is sorting it out. I'm told by the end of the process, they're going to publish it in the newspaper, and they're going to ask the LMP to go after the people to prosecute them because their action is in violation of the election laws of Liberia. That's a good step forward. But talking about whether if the NEC has managed to get from manual registration to biometric registration, is that all to it? That is not all to it. There are a lot of things that the NEC state to do to increase public confidence. Look at the recruitment of NEC staff. People complain that many persons who are going there to be recruited, the recruitment was done in District 15, in places like CDC entrenched terrain, and it was denied by the NEC. What do you witness of late? Yeke Koruba had to go out to publish an information from one of the ladies in District 10 who was informing the CDC that, look, you have to bring the people here, who have to register everything. So it still brought us on the credibility of the commission. And I do not think that signing the ECOWAS protocol or the Farmington protocol still set the NEC free from all of the responsibility. It doesn't. because the commitment that was signed up to by the political parties at Farmington is only about their intent not to engage in violence. But if, for example, the government has shared a very bigger responsibility to protect the credibility of the pool, to ensure that the elections are conducted in a free, fair, and transparent manner, to ensure that NEC gets the kind of support, financial support she needs to carry out the election. If the government doesn't do it, we're not going to sit supine and say, oh, because we signed protocol, so we're not going to do what is in our preview. That is not it. I think what the Farmington MOU is basically about is to talk about non-violent approach to the election. I mean, which I'm sure that none of us would want to encourage people to be violent in the election, because regardless of our political differences, regardless of everything we have in this country, we do not want to take our country backward. We are a country still recovering from the ashes of the 14 years of brutal civil conflict. And that is why we are frequently reminded, the folks at the Election Commission, that is why we are frequently reminded Mr. Weir of the importance of conducting this election in a free, fair, and credible manner. Because the last time the country went to war, it is because somebody tampered with the integrity of the polls. Okay? In 2017, Councillor Bromsky, being a different person, said, we want to test the credibility of the process. We're going to go to the court to challenge the process through the court. All our politicians will not be the Bromsky. Bromsky is no more. All our politicians are not going to be the him. So 2017's experience should not create a fertile ground for the NEC in 2023 to repeat the mistakes that were made. I do believe the challenges that they had in 2017, the NEC still has not proven to be able to stand up to outliving or performing above the challenge. For example, in places in Grand Bassa, district number 4, people voted in bathtubs, exposed the ballot paper. So the security of the vote, the integrity of the vote were compromised. Okay, there are several places where there were no ballot boxes. People had to vote in bathtub against the election law. The reason why the ballot paper has to be placed in a box, because the box is sealed up. All of the seals, numbers on the boxes are given to the NEC workers, to the party observers, and just in case you want to challenge the result, you have to go step by step. And the step will be that you read the seal on the ballot on the ballot box number, and they're going to identify it, they're going to open it and check it. But in the event where somebody goes and vote in bathtub, how do you check the credibility of such process? So these are some of the challenges. For example, part of the country was very far to reach. They could not reach there on time. The polls could not open at 8 o'clock. Some of the places the polls open 12 o'clock, thereby depriving other people from voting. Some of the places putting out the vote, they say, oh, your name not here, your name way, like somebody living from district number 10, from district number 10 on the Oro, and you tell the person, say, oh, your name is way in district number 17 in Broadway. So therefore, the person is not going to vote. So the NEC is still confronted with those challenges, because when our technical person reached out to the NEC, based upon the information they published on the number of voting centers, it was still discovered that some of the voting centers that they have in most other country does not exist. It's a problem when the NEC wants to create ghost polling places that don't exist in structure, but only exist on paper. That alone is a fertile ground for fraud. Because what they're going to do on voting day is to assign numbers, fictitious number, to people at those places, at those voting centers that don't exist by structure, by paper. They gave the candidate of choice number over there, and in the end, the person gets number ahead of you. You cannot justify it. So all the problems have been detected from the system. I do not believe that the NEC has worked, extremely well to overcome the challenges that I had in 2017. We commend them on the aspect of moving from manual registration to biometric registration, but it still does not address the concerns that Liberty Party raised. There were a myriad of issues that we raised: the credibility of the pool, the integrity of the result, the security of the ballot boxes. It's showing that people go to register and vote on time. They put in place their open. Somewhere in district number 2, people turn out to vote for Liberty Party. They say, oh, they moved the polling center to Buchanan City. You're talking about almost 5-hour distance. How is somebody coming away district number 2 to go to vote in Buchanan district? So therefore, that person is being deprived. It happened in district number 9. When Phoebe Herman challenged the result, there were people who didn't vote. When they turned out to vote that morning, the NEC told them, say, oh, this center here has been moved way to Broadway. So it was on that basis that Phoebe challenged the result. Unfortunately for him, the lawyer didn't file the right paper, and his case was dismissed on a motion. So we have to check the processes. I do not believe that the Farmington MOU is a bad initiative, it's a good initiative, because we all have to engage the electoral process with good intention. I don't believe that if the government gives all the reasoning to protest, don't believe that the Farmington agreement I was set up to we disallow from doing so, because the right to protest is constitutional, and no treaty, no protocol can supersede what is constitutional in Liberia. Thank you.
Thank you. Very valid point. Very valid argument. Chupo, you having issue with Chupo internet? Chupo, you having issue with your internet? You're coming in a little distorted. So, guys, we're going almost 2 hours. Let's move to our.
Stephen, just before you move to your last topic, just a caution to all of us. We got to be a little bit careful of our messaging. Right now, voter registration going on, and we're calling on people to go and register. We also want to encourage them to vote after registering. But when we say things that the election has already been decided, who on earth is supposed to go waste their time, stand in line for hours to be a part of a process that we say has already been decided? So that messaging that the election has already been decided will drive away participation. So if we at the same time want people to register to participate in the election, but we put in their ear that the election has already been decided, they could say to themselves, but if people believe the election has already been decided, why will my vote change? Why will my participation by registering change if they already know that the election has been decided? So we can have all the concerns, and we need to keep tackling those concerns to make sure they are addressed. That is the approach. But if based on those concerns we emphatically say the election has already been decided, even if it were me, why should I go stand in line for 3 hours, 4 hours to register? And why should I even show on election day to vote when I'm being told that the election has already been decided? So I don't think it's the appropriate message. It's good to point out the challenges, like some of the things I heard Daniel saying towards the end of his comment, because you want the challenges to be known so they can be resolved. So if you know that NEC, for example, has a voter registration center on paper, but they don't exist in reality, as Daniel is talking about, it means you've done your homework and have the facts, then we counter it to make sure that that does not survive. But to say categorically that the election has already been decided, and at the same time we want people to turn up, to register, and to vote, I think it's messaging, because a lot of people would just say, oh, well, since our people already know the election has been decided, I'm not going to waste my time because it doesn't matter what I do. As they said, the election is already decided.
Thank you, Pierre.
Pierre, I agree with you, because we live in a country where people listen, and they are listening when one of us saying that, oh, the election already been decided. I mean, it is not a good messaging, because people get discouraged. But if people say they may already been rigging the election, there is no reason for them to go vote. That is why we got to be careful what we say to our people.
Thank you, Daniel. Chupo.
Yeah, so I actually stem from what you said regarding this Farmington declaration stuff.
Chupo, your
Yes.
network is terrible.
Wow. Okay.
Change the phone. Maybe you want to use the other phone you can use to come on. Yeah, because you're coming in a little distorted. So guys, let's move to our we'll get to Chupo when he comes back. Let's move to the last topic before we go to the phone lines. We woke up one morning here to news about officials of the Liberian Maritime Authority being arrested in Busan, South Korea, on charges of sexual assault. Like many, we express our frustration, our disappointment in those officials on grounds that they behave contrary to what diplomats should, or any normal or civilized human being, and that many persons have called for justice and the rule of law, and that for the victims to also be able to have a closure. It becomes a difficult thing when you're dealing with this issue, because you have to be very mindful how you handle it. And most often time people forget that those who we should stand with are the victims. Instead, many times people think that when the perpetrator gets what is deserving of the crime, a lot of persons want to sympathize or empathize with them, forgetting the victims. And oftentimes, many of our officials or many persons in Liberia think how flexible our laws are, that you can do anything and get away. Is the same thing in these Western countries. Unfortunately, it's not. These Western countries have strong laws, they have strong institutions, and you will face whatever consequences of your actions. We woke up that morning and realized that they were arrested by the South Korean government. They were jailed, pending trial. The Liberian government, through the Bureau of Maritime, through the Commission of Maritime, made legal representation. The case was forwarded to court. The accused faced justice. They went through the case. The case was adjudicated. We woke up today and realized that the Bureau of Maritime, the Liberian Maritime Authority, the Liberian Maritime Authority issued a press statement today saying that the case is over with, and the two gentlemen, Moses Owen Brown and Daniel Ta of the Liberian Maritime, were convicted and sentenced to 9 years in prison. This is the letter from the Maritime, the press release. I will try to read it because it's a little. It's a press update on the case of Moses Owen Brown and Daniel Ta, Republic of Korea, Monrovia, Liberia, April 5, 2023. The Liberian Maritime Authority has informed the Peruvian Law Office, the Korean law firm hired by the government of Liberia to represent Mr. Moses Owen Brown and Daniel Ta. I can barely see this thing. Daniel Ta in a sexual assault case that on today, April 5, 2023, at 2 p.m. Korean time, at the scheduled verdict hearing, the court in Busan, Korea, has found both Mr. Moses Brown and Ta guilty of sexual assault. Following this conviction, the court in Busan has subsequently sentenced both Moses and Daniel to serve a prison term of 9 years each. I'll leave it at that. I can barely see. It's a little small when I'm reading from the screen. So 9 years each. Guys, what lesson can we learn from this before we move to the phone line? What lesson can be learned? What message in all of this? Let me begin with you, Mona. I know you're involved with some of these issues about sexual assault and rape, among women, and some of your advocacy some center around some of these issues. What do you make of this?
I don't know if those girls were actually raped or it was a statutory rape where they were underage and they went out with them. But whatever was the case, the latter, it means that they were being very violent. That we don't see that as right. And then statutory rape, they took advantage of them because they were young and they were not of age. So either of them, they didn't do right. I mean, Liberian men got to learn to be responsible. Men, wherever they go, it's not every woman you see you consider a woman. Once a woman is under 18, see her as a child. See that person as a child. That's not someone you should consider to be, to even imagine going to bed with. Above 18, I mean, you can have all the will you want to have with her because, by right, by law, it's legal. But you went somewhere as a diplomat, and then you went and started messing with women with little babies, and think you will get away with it like what we do, what our men do back home in Liberia. That's not right. That's just so. It's just unfortunate that they are our people, and for them to be jailed outside of Liberia, we don't feel good about the whole thing. But it just wasn't right that they had to go out with girls that are underage. Is so not right. I mean, other men should be able to learn from this and follow suit. That whatever happened tomorrow, they will have to take responsibility. And I don't know if the Liberian government follow up the case to know if they were actually guilty for them to be sentenced. If they actually follow up and they were found guilty, then they have to serve their time because they actually committed a crime. We just pray that God be with their families.
Thank you. Thank you. Tanya? You muted.
Yes. The situation involving the two Liberians in South Korea is one of a very unfortunate situation. And I do believe that the Liberian government has to do more in engaging the authorities of the South Korea government through some bilateral conversation to ensure that that the matter can be settled in the background. But again, Stephen will talk about the sexual misconduct of our compatriots. We'll talk about how they didn't keep their zipper up and they fell into problem. We'll talk about everything. I think this situation could have been handled provided our government had exercised maturity in reaching out to the authorities in South Korea when this matter was initially reported. But guess what? Sources from the foreign ministry informs me that the president wanted to outrightly dismiss Owen Brown. That's the first step the chief executive of the country was about to take. And he was advised not to do so. It's unfortunate. Moses is a very young man with a bright future. I don't know the other guy, Daniel. I don't know him. But I'm told he's also a very easygoing person. It is unfortunate that their career in the maritime sector as young, emerging diplomats of the country will end on such a sad note. And this for me should be a lesson to every man across the world. For those of us who read a lot of history, biblical history, political history, we have to be very careful how we deal with our opposite gender, because the downfall of many great men has come from the interaction with women. Women are our companion, but if you put too much pleasure into woman business, it leads you to a disastrous end. This is where our friend Moses Owen Brown found himself today. It's very much unfortunate. I still do believe that, in spite of all of the damage this incident have done to their career, their credential, their reputation, I still do believe that our government can do some background negotiation to have them return home. And, the facts have already been established. The Liberian government, yes, they did well to have secure legal representation for them. They released the issue today, says that a whole lot. Now, we think they need to go beyond that to engage the authorities through diplomatic negotiation. I don't know whether we'll have some South Korean years facing prison term or serving prison term or what have you. But these things will be done because, one, the legal formality have been settled. They don't have to focus on the pew. What they can focus on right now is how we can engage the authority to have our people come back home. because some other countries, the prison facility can be very terrible. You don't want to go there. You come back. There's great psychological damage going to happen to you. So the government needs to move in. Maybe the Maritime Authority, that Moses, the two individuals work with directly, need to move in to engage the authorities in South Korea. The Liberian embassy for that region, I'm told, is headed by Blambo Nelson. They have to now reach out to the authorities now that the legal formality have been settled, so that they can work out the modality as to how they can be returned home. Because I think what the authorities wanted to do was to establish that the charges against them were not trumped up. It was actually on the basis of facts, and that facts have been established through the legal process. They've been found guilty, they've been convicted, they've been sentenced for 9 years imprisonment. So we can now move in, negotiate with them. It's possible. And we saw how the U.S. and Russia, fierce rival in war politics, they even go through prisoner swap. Liberia is not a rival to South Korea. We're not at war with each other. We have very good relationships. So I do believe if our people reach out to them, they're going to be magnanimous enough to there's nothing more they're going to do. I mean, they already convicted them. They already sentenced them. So if you can even reach out to them and say, we can take them home so they can serve the remainder of the sentences back home, it's going to be a good thing for us. But on a serious note, I really do think that, I really believe that this situation was a very unfortunate one. And to see the career of a very brilliant young man coming to an end on this note, it's very saddening for me.
Thank you, Daniel. Chupo, any take on this?
Yeah, so I will start by saying I'm actually in solidarity with our two senior brothers. Yes, I'm in solidarity with them. But the truth is, some of those people, when they leave this country, they feel that some of those countries are like Liberia, wherein we have things. When we say things, we have the laws written. And if it comes to their implementation, wherein we have to implement those laws, that's another problem. So the report clearly stated that those guys were convicted of the crime, and all I can say is they should serve their terms, even though they are our brothers. They should serve their terms, and maybe that will serve as deterrence to other Liberians home and abroad. This, we shouldn't engage in it. We should disengage from issues of such. So I'm in solidarity with them, but they didn't actually serve their jail sentence. Thank you.
Thank you, Chupo. Thank you. Yeah.
So the two brothers are not just Liberians. They are my kinsmen. We come from the same county. They are two sons of Grand Bassa. Prior to 2018, yes, I could say that Moses and I were good friends. Of course, for reasons best known to them, many of them have kept a complete distance since 2018, since the CDC came to power. And even greeting is a difficult thing. There are a few exceptions who try to maintain the relationships they had before. They don't look at the politics. So he's a brother, irrespective of whether we're connected or so. So their situation is sad, because trust me, 9 years in prison in a foreign land is no easy feast. It's a difficult task. But you see, when we go to funeral, everything that people say at the funeral, whether they're giving tribute, the pastor preaching, it's not for the dead person, because the dead person will not hear what has been said. Everything said they are meant for we who are living and who are attending those funerals to learn some lessons from. So the same approach comes here. I think the fact that the brothers were persecuted, found guilty, they've been sentenced, It's not water under the bridge. But there are lessons for all of us to learn, especially we who are men. You know, there's something that the folks do on Facebook, and I follow it most of the times. When they want to talk about men and our behavior, they refer to us as Adam's gender. And when they're talking about the women and some of the things they get involved with, is these Eve genders, they're not easy. So the truth also is, and we got to be fair to ourselves, is that we, Adam's gender, we got some issues, real issues to him. Sometimes you look at a man, he's married, he got a family. You look at his wife, you place her in all the categorization. She's way up there, on top of the world. But then we're always tempted to want to do stuff away from our wives. But what is disappointing so now when you see the people who you do it with, then you ask yourself the question, say, but what did he want behind this person? I know this man's wife. Beautiful, educated, gorgeous, productive, everything. No comparison between that person and this person. What is he looking for? What is he not getting there that he's looking for here? But like the children will say on Facebook, probably that's an attribute of Adam's gender that we have to sort out. Because sometimes they have consequences, as we see in this case. Sometimes they have consequences. I hope these kinds of lessons can just help us, Adam's gender, to get better, not just about the brothers who are in the problem now. It is a known fact that we men, most of the time when you travel, the first thing that comes to the mind, want money in their pocket, they want to look for a woman. But you left your wife behind, beautiful, gorgeous, empowered. And that's not what you went on the trip for. It's not just about Moses. And that's the reason why I was stretching the point, because we all got to learn the lesson from it. It's not just about Moses and Daniel. Men, as soon as you get a small box in your pocket, it's not sufficient for you to say, I got some extra money, let me go do more things for my children and my family. Looking for some of the beautiful girls to go chill. And sometimes it can be very catastrophic, like what we have now. Were those Korean girls as beautiful as Moses and Daniel's wives? I don't think so. Was it just a desire for every pleasure that landed them where they are now? Probably. Are there lessons to learn? Yes. Both for them who are in jail and those of us who are out here, who everywhere we travel, we want to take a gymnastic. Because that's synonymous to Adam's gender. I hope we learn something from it. And the second issue that I think is that I don't think the government initial reaction is the best. Maybe in their thinking that's the best. When public officials from your country move to another country accused of sexual assault or rape, you allow the legal process to play on, they are found guilty and sentenced. The first thing you want to do as a government is to show some remorse. And the way to show some remorse is to be apologetic about what your officials have been found guilty of and express some regrets. But if your first reaction, your first and only reaction is that you are looking at options of appeal, it does not show that you have any remorse for what happened. Yeah, it's a normal thing. Once appeal is a part of the judicial process, yeah, you will do it. But that cannot be your priority to come say you're looking at option. Is optional appeal, is it relevant even in this case? I don't think so. That Daniel said, a lot of backdoor diplomatic channels would have been more helpful than jumping to the public in the first instance and talking about you're talking to your lawyer to consider the options of appeal. No remorse, no regret. That's what it means. And mind you, the people involved in these things are said to be minors, children. So the government has to be sensitive in a kind of case that where children were the victims. And now that the law has taken this course, you want to be apologetic, you want to express regret, and then see how you do the rest of the thing back to China to say, look at all the options there. Can we have you turn over our people so they can serve their sentences back home? Is that possible? Nobody knows. But if you're making those kinds of intervention, then it's better than for you to come to the public and the first thing you say, we talk to our lawyer, they're considering the option of appeal. You see, the countries are different. In Liberia, people rape children as young as 3 years old. Nothing happened to them. That's why rape is a big problem in Liberia, because decisive actions are not taken consistent with the law against those who are doing it. That's a word that I in every country know. That's why when you step out of Liberia, the things you can do in Liberia, you will not be able to do them necessarily everywhere. Like I said in my training issue, Bobo Chima, because you speak or you just get you go bouncing to Lescar's office because Lescar managing your maritime program. So you got no official, you can just walk there anyway. And the fact that you are a speaker, it didn't matter to that person on the deck. Say you got no appointment here and you cannot be ushered in. The same thing. The things that we pass through that we can survive back in Liberia. We don't go everywhere and think that we're still in Liberia because there could be consequences like we have with our two brothers. It's sad. They are married people, they got children. So imagine spending 9 years away from your wife and children in jail. You have not just ruined your own life, but the lives of your children, your wife, and everybody else. Very regrettable, very sad. Those are my thoughts.
Indeed. Very, very, very regrettable, sad. We just have to watch and see what will unfold in the coming days. Guys, we're gone almost 2 hours and 30 minutes. Let's take some few calls, and then we can give our closing. Let me put the number, Chupo.
So the numbers to put you through this evening are 088-704-3660, 087-04-3660, 070-47-2019, 070-47-2019. And those in the diaspora, you can call us up on +1 401 688 8266 +1 401 688 8266. And let me take my very first caller. Go ahead, caller.
Good evening to the class video, the family, or Big Brother PI and other people in studio, or good evening to all of the zero listeners tonight on the class video. I'm Cabinet S. Supana, and I do join the conversation this evening from Claratown, a member of QRM, and my goal is to make George Weah a one-time president. No, Big Brother, you see all of those things that are happening in the CDC government. It is because of what? Lack of competency, right? Because in the absence of competency, these are things that we expect to happen. And you see, reason being all of those things that are happening, it is because of physicians are in the country, they are in majority, and those guys are senseless people. And we, the sensible people, we are in our minority. So those guys, in terms of decision making, they have more voice over us, and they have more decision making over us. Those guys, since 2018, right? All of the zero presidential candidates who took part in the election, for every time that I look at that particular flyers or I look at those or zero candidates, I always share yes, Mr. Weah was the lead candidate in our race in terms of education, in terms of anything you are thinking about. Mr. Weah was the lead person. You think what the later will come bursting over frustration. So I see Mr. Weah left from nowhere. The level is not even or has students to come and because they are people we can make this man president. It was too simple and disgraceful, brother.
Thank you, Cabinet.
Will continue to happen once Mr. Weah the president because they may have no understanding of governance. He is far from education.
Thank you so very kindly. Call on the line, please go ahead.
Hello.
You're live on the program. Go ahead, Chief.
Thank you very much. Let me say good evening from my end to all the panelists, Daniel Sando, Pia, and Mr. Johnson. This is DJ Lome calling from Corwell.
Go ahead, Mr. Lome.
Honorable Pia, let me ask. The ECOWAS that we're talking about, I'm not reading it. But since we talk about the government should pay cabinet channel, have they done it? ECOWAS today, between President Fatangwe, the TRIUA fracas, the District 13 fracas, they go down just in Chiefly. The students that went to protest for people like Europe, like Europe, they were beating up in front of the American embassy. And the investigation being concluded, we saw Jefferson County going to the LU there. When they left Amos Sawyer, they create a problem there. At the moment, there was any investigation. We saw a cover of grave. We in the middle of in fact, yesterday, we found that document. CDC violated, but stopping the Bunga for inside our house. Why next this is our platform? We kill that Bunga and the security receives what I need to do. That's a complete violation. And then they give me 10 cars to come in. 100 cars to people to register. When you say the voting was so enough, why are you denying the people of that? That it can't happen in Lokitan, it can't happen in Lokitan, it can't happen in all places. But only they believe the strong war on Honorable Baka, all the opposition that when they give him on the cars. This is a complete violation.
Thank you, DJ Lome.
And then before we say we went to Supreme Court, let us start now, let us break our flag to the international people like yes, but don't be surprised. Tomorrow they will tell you the election was free and fair.
Thank you.
Or this one was quite sufficient. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very kindly. Call on the line, please go ahead.
Oh, thank you very much. This is Bobby Abu Menska assumed this evening from the district as the corporate room. And let me appreciate those panelists this evening for the show and the discussion, for getting that time to the Liberian people. I must applaud you guys for that. Oh, listen. Oh, Honorable Pia, listen, we should have said, let me first comment those leaders who stand up to peace, because it is very kind. But ECOWAS, a body that shouldn't get our political leader to stand peace in this country. When we sit down here for no money, we are to raise the nation. ECOWAS, a lot of things have been happening in this country. The layer or the late princess on the death of the auditor, there was nothing. There was never a day ECOWAS came to condemn the issue or condemn the killing going on in this country. They endorse the killing of the real-led government, but when they attack the ECOWAS boss lady, that is the time it tells that. So listen, that body is the sensitive body. Let's be honest. They get here because the year and the second dry. But we will show to them, we will not be afraid of them. We will not be afraid of the kind of lie or to be used in our own country. No, we will stay up or we win the election and then they say that ECOWAS will stay to cope with this government. The entire ECOWAS and we are with CFP for the hands of the Labrador or towards 2023.
Thank you so very kindly, Chief. Go ahead, Chief here.
Call on the line, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is Fred from North Carolina, and I just called to thank you guys for the discussion. One thing, I also have serious issue with our permission agreement that was signed, because basically what it did, they just started the opposition hands behind them to go in a bind with the player who is the CDC government hands loose. You know, because all the conflict, all the violence that as indicated in Bwaka's speech has been committed by the ruling party, the government in power. What has the ECOWAS and all those international organizations done? Nothing, absolutely nothing. And I want us to understand that most of these people that tend to go in conflict area as representatives, either UN or ECOWAS, they are human beings like any of us. They go over there, the first thing they seek is their interest. And secondly, the government, the organization they represent. So, like Stephen alluded, there was a comment made on a Costa Post, and the UN, the ECOWAS ambassador raised that issue with, I think, the American ambassador or the government, and they tell how the country retract the statement. So the ECOWAS, while it is true, welcome their president, their president in Liberia, but they have not been neutral. They have started with the government in all the demonstrations that was organized. They didn't want that to happen because I don't know what happened. coalition agreement was signed, these international organizations like ECOWAS, they get together. It's just a club, you know. So they're going to back the government. Whatever instances, I will see what impact it will take because, you know, that agreement not going to cut the energy. If the election is not free and fair, the citizens have the right to join in the street and demonstrate. And I don't think the agreement should tie the opposition hands behind their back.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Are you aware that what they did was not signing a new document, but rather a recommitment? Are you aware that the Farmington Declaration, actually original, was signed when your party was in power and the other people as opposition had to sign it?
Yes, I knew it was not a new document. I mean, I talked to someone who ran for the vice president. It was just a business thing, but that document was signed before 2017 election. And we still have violence. We have been having violence with District 13 and 15. ECOWAS has not come to state anything, so why are they reinforcing this agreement? Because even the election in 2017, the Supreme Court admitted there was cheating. And all the things they recommended as illustrated by Daniel Sando, those things have not been done. The voter roll hasn't been clean, even though they introduced the biometric system. But if the people in the election commission are not credible people, you're still not going to have credible election. And I do agree with what you said that we shouldn't tell the people or conclude that the election is going to be cheated. But the catalyst to having a credible election lies in the hands of the election commission. And I don't think that commission is very credible enough. And lastly, to my last point, I think if we should have a consensus of viewpoints, instead of one person saying this, comparing the previous government with the current government, we are dealing with a government in power now. Whatever damages they are causing to the country, we can't blame the previous government because they look at what the previous government did and criticize the previous government will give them power. They can't be doing the same thing the previous government was doing and try to make comparison. That cannot happen anywhere.
Yeah, so unfortunately, therefore we need a line. We cannot reach consensus because we can how do I call it? We can macro-manage people. What we can do is if somebody says something that we are not in tune where we can issue a disagreement, but you can't come on a show and tell everybody who come out finally to say the same thing or to say what you wanted to say. It's difficult.
No, I may not have spoken the real well. I'm not saying you all should have the same consensus or agreement, but you can't be giving divergent messages that don't portray the accurate thing like what I said. If you're going to compare the previous government with this government, so for that government to lead power, because you criticize the government, you want the election to make changes.
Thank you.
If you're not expecting those changes, then no need.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Daniel.
Go ahead, Samson.
Somebody say that.
Samson, go ahead.
Well, tonight I'm not speaking. Pastor, I think Friday with some of that. But what I want to say to the people of the country and to the government, through Class Reloaded, to whoever are listening, is that it's the information I want to get to Class Reloaded. There's a company in Cape Mount, in the King George era, I think it's a Russian or some company that a mineral company. They usually don't use the free port of Monrovia, but they use the port of Buchanan to bring their chemical through the port of Buchanan. And once upon a time, the chemical wasted here. It was that small thing down there. If you could see that thing running like there's somebody running behind that chemical, white something, a liquid like. And everybody's saying that cocoa on that chemical is a very bad chemical. What they use on the mineral in King George. And when they read it, the last two days ago, we are not resting yet. In our city center, a water truck passing, a 40-feet continuous truck, the low bay, they carry that chemical in a plastic something. And today, one of the truck was packed. They usually carry in the net. Nobody know why they broke on the other truck, and they packed right around the total area the whole of today. And anybody made mistake and just knock that thing with never something or any other thing that thing waste, it would not be small thing. I'm telling you, Mr. Sano, when I think wasted in the Canada area, right around the before town area, around that coconut plantation area, right opposite the Benabon school there.
What is the name of the chemical?
We don't know. They always pass with the poke pulling on top of it. Sometimes it's so small. You see white. Generally, the rubber later. That what they use on a mirror on a cool and diamond in job. And when I think we say it, Daniel, nobody never slept that night. They had to bring club all kind of things. You know, get rid of that thing. What people call it, I know mercury. It's a mercury like something. Other person have mercury, chemical, all kind of things. So we calling on the government to respect human dignity, and you know, we as a country are benefiting from that company in Cape Town. While they passing through our port, we're not benefiting anything. And when I think we're wasting here on somebody or on our car, because it's passing in the city center. So now 30 to 40 truck load, 40 feet low bay, they pass it on the street. Last night we couldn't sleep, holding nothing.
All right.
You know,
thank you, Samson.
so we're calling on the government to respect human dignity and shouldn't pass it without in our place there. That's a chemical. They should put in the container or something. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
I forgot to ask something. Daniel, do you know whether the show is on Radio Dubai and whether D15 on?
I know D15 is on. Let me take Noah. Let me take Noah and find out something. Noah, go ahead.
Yeah, can I go ahead?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. I want to say good evening to the well-landed panelists. And I think for the sake of the public, once again, I'm Noah Zawu Gibson. I want to commend you guys for the numerous sacrifices we all are making. Let me say this. This Farmington Declaration thing, just as Sion Comrade Pia stated, it's just a recommitment. This thing, that's something that started under our regime. I remember the last time the first one was signed was at the Farmington Hotel when we held the ECOWAS conference, when Madam Sally was handing the ECOWAS leadership over to Foyer Assembly of Togo. Look, but one thing I want us to understand here, we shouldn't just look at just because that commitment was made. I think let's look at the statements. I want to salute our standard bearer for something he said. And what he did say yesterday was, while it is true we are facing our signature to free, fair, I mean, we are facing our signature to a process that will be violence free. But we are also telling you that we are facing our signature to a process that will be free, fair, transparent, and credible. Anything that is not going to be free, fair, and credible, we're not going to accept it. So that alone, it clearly shows that we're not just going to fix our signature to just anything, or we're not going to accept any result in this country because we signed one Farmington Declaration. Meaning, what will happen in this election? If the glaring signs are there and the glaring facts are there that can be pointed to that we were cheated, God forbid, which we don't pray for. Well, I can tell you what the ECOWAS or the UN or whoever, why they don't want to see what happen. Because let me be honest to you, we cannot afford to see some of us going back 6 years under this regime. The thing some of us are going through here is not just an easy task. I mean an easy thing that to say we should sit here and allow a just real regime, a man who even if you were to put on an application for him to be a receptionist, he will not even be qualified to meet such requirement. So we should can't sit down here and can't allow such a thing for 6 more years because of one Farmington Declaration. It will not happen. And in conclusion, Senior Comrade Stephen Johnson, please try to be answering some of us sometime when we're calling you. Please, you do not answer my call at all. Every time I try to reach out to you on Messenger, you do not pick up my call. At least Comrade Pia and others, they will try to at least answer. Even if they don't have the time, they will reply. You say, oh, sorry, you know, I'm busy at this time. But you don't do that. I will say this publicly. I try to manage it, but I will say this publicly. That's not good of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh man, call me on WhatsApp.
You can go ahead.
Okay, I'm Eugene Utah from Buchanan, Grand Bassa County. And purpose I call the show to gratify and appreciate Senator Nyobli Kanga Lawrence with the statement made from the diaspora. In Bassa here, there are some representative aspirant with the movement and activity who spark up violence. So she cautioned the minds of those people and the people of Bassa that they should stop thinking about scare tactics before any damage happens. So she promised them that as soon as you come, she's going to arrange again about discussion among them so that they could know how to go about doing a different campaigning. So that's how a leader speaks. I really admire her. I really want to appreciate her for that. And I'm firing Radio Dubai. Radio Dubai is clear, and it is what I'm firing right now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel Sano.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Chupa.
For internet now, get away again. Let me see if I can bring him back. Okay.
Call on the line, please go ahead.
Yeah, patience and village from Dhaka. I just want to speak on the issue about the public university tuition declared free. You know that it's another for educational gesture that the government has set for we the young people, because you cannot declare tuition free and there's no facility. The university in Gambasa now is located around urban area. There's no facility. If you want to come out, you not even know that the area you look like a university campus. Then the next issue is about our two brothers that have been sentenced. You know, that would pay or officers are wanted to have a young brother of the even in our own country, because they feel the agenda, they feel that in our country we are all more people, so they just do anything they want to do. So people they will know how to organize themselves when they worry about we.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so very kindly for your input. Thank you.
Daniel, did you say Adam's gender?
Yeah, that's
Adam's gender is a problem.
Call on the line, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm having way speaking from County Banga.
It's good having you here from Banga. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to remind the class about the connection, because we are hearing here that the party want to carry Jeremiah Kun. I want to tell the class that let the party forget about Jeremiah Kun. Jerry has the money, not as compared to Madam Lawrence Nyobli Kanga, but Lawrence Nyobli Kanga has votes that can make the party win. Okay. Jerry and Prince Johnson want to collapse and make the party not to succeed in this election.
I guess.
So that is my little advice. We will make our contribution, we'll go, we'll vote, but if the party Jerry and Prince Johnson does not want to see that happening. Thank you.
Thank you, but just keep following the class below that. What I can say is keep following the class below that and don't follow the gossip. So anything like that, I'm sure will be pronounced right here on this platform.
Thank you.
Thank you too, Chief. Thank you. Call on the line, go ahead.
Hello?
You're live on the program, please go ahead.
There is hello?
You're live on the program, please stop listening to yourself and go ahead.
This is Jefferson Tuba from Small and Valtown. I'm a fan listener. I want to applaud you people for what you are doing for Liberian people.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I want to appreciate what you are doing for Liberian people. I'm a member of the United Party. I want to have some confidential documents to Stephen Johnson, but I will start to look for Daniel Sano to get that petition and give to him to send it to Stephen Johnson.
Okay. So you already have connection with Samuel, right? Daniel Samuel, right?
Yeah, I was trying to look for his capital data so I can do it into my power to Steve Johnson.
Okay, Chief. Thank you.
All right.
Call on the line, please go ahead. Hello. Oh my word. Chief, yeah, please go ahead. Fine.
I don't have a call currently.
Okay, so let me see if I can get this one person who just left the line. Call on the line, please go ahead.
Yeah, David, do you want calling on this?
It's good having you from Mark Soralo County. Go ahead.
Mother, yeah, I want to complain about this. And just so you know, our people, they need to follow all the news. And why you see a Ghana? If who are always people, somebody that always blame with you for a day, the person that gonna put it. You can be that kind of person with somebody. You go take but when the father was taking the remarkable, taking all the food, then not and you are doing it. But in private history, you know, we will carry, and we will know about it. You can't tell somebody who now respect you, who know how to money go win. You are hard, you know, even know this or that want to win. But like people are already resolved. So this is what is happening. Won't say somebody that came and instead of being with you for no people of time, you started with the hard struggle. So all that thing that people are gonna, the way you say, you hear the results, you know that the woman got you see the only person can say by the body and battle the people there.
Thank you. Word. Call on the line, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is the boss of Italy Snarl. I join you from Buchanan, Pastor County. I just want to tell our people in the Republic of Liberia and in the diaspora and those that were the class reloaded. And let me inform them, no one should be afraid. Just discuss the issue. The government have no totally failed the Liberian people. We will change the regime. You don't be afraid. Nobody can rig the election. We will vote. For me, I already got my voting card. For one fact, let me say this. Jeremiah, we are looking for somebody who will help JMB to put your fucking file. And that money, we are talking about money. We Liberian people who want good government. We are talking about money. So no one should worry about Jeremiah from what I do. So someone in touch with the people, someone that will work after the issue of the country, that the also war will trust. It has to just set the middle, get the middle, because you around the hospital in there. So you can help the people. Thank you for having me on the show. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your points this evening. Let me take this person. Call on the line. Please turn down your monitor and go ahead.
Yes, hello?
Yes, go ahead. You're live in the program.
Okay, we should remain on name again. The issue about this aspect about this forbidden agreement, actually, I don't think it will have any barrier, any good barrier. Based on the issue that the preceding events, these people are very chaotic. Just imagine all of the issues, the District 13 issue, the District 15, what happened in Yega-Koruba area, and all the events. Can you imagine why they are talking about signing agreement at Farmington Hotel? Javasi Koji is saying that when they were happening that the way elections, opposition will not hold job. These people are bent on fermenting chaos. So actually, they will give out because semi-educated people or educated people, when they hold power, it is difficult to take it from them. That is the issue. Also, when it comes to the issue about the aspect about running mate, we pray that Young Lee will be the choice because she has many factors to use for popularity and all of it. It's not about money. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chief.
Hold on
the line, yeah? Hold on the line.
Daniel Sano. Look, yeah, this election
people should not feel discouraged. The Liberian people have decided. All right. If you look at the agreement that was signed yesterday, and I just want to appreciate the old man so much. He laid it out very clearly yesterday. If you look at all of the violent activities that have been taking across the country, from District 13 to District 12 to where, in front of the U.S. Embassy at the university campus in District 10, it is the CDC that is conducting these violent activities on camera. The evidence are glaring and clear. Unity Party has never committed any violence. You don't see the ANC people committing violence. You don't see ARP youth committing violence. It is the seditions, the youth of the CDC, including their government officials. Deputy ministers were leading the Americans of CDC in District 10 for 3 days. This government kept silent and did nothing. The brutalized universities playing in front of the U.S. Embassy, a foreign mission. It is the CDC that is causing the violence. We're not going to get fear for anything. The document was a document or just a recommitment, but we're not going to sit there to allow them to do anything. If they try anything, we will go on the rampage too. We ought to be radical. Period.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Go ahead, you Paul.
You're live in the program. Go ahead. Please go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, my brother. For me, what I'm trying to tell you that this particular election is listening to most of the citizens and the government officials saying that they will see the election. You getting me?
You're live in the program.
Yes. They said they will make sure they will rig the election. So for me, I love what the woman said yesterday. And actually, they should not think that once the people have go sign that commitment and they carry on any breaking of the election will accept it. And you know, here where they are passing, telling the member. And in fact, I listened to the Chief Justice, the monarch of a peace, and that woman, she even correct to be a Chief Justice. The remarks she making. So you see the people, the guy is said man. But we know we'll not sit. We'll go and vote. And we'll vote them up. If they cheat, we always get on the street. That is us. And at the end of the day, they are there. Their own arm will take it from them. Thank you, brother.
Thank you so very kindly for your points tonight. 0887-043660, 0887-043660, 077-047. 2019 077-047 2019 plus 14016888266 plus 14016888266. So taking 3 more calls. Call on the line, go ahead.
Yes, good evening.
You're live in the program.
Yeah, she calling Washington. Yeah, all I've been married, we got program. We got the free world. Thank God for you guys. For his program. But one thing I want to express is that we know that the Free Party has violated all of the constitutional laws in the country. You just not get a shoe if you want, if it's 13. Also, the party headquarters, but they are trying to know everything. You understand how to do. I will call him our little boy, 1985. I don't want you with me. The day, 12. I call him the senator for the county. The senator from Sando, not Sando, okay, the senator Twanway, very good senator, this senator Twanway. When I did if I could to please, listen carefully, better. I want to do patrol here in the house. I will pass the place. Open it to. Come, but look out with deep society. We will tell you where the job got it in a paper. But we'll take it from me, Oma, whom call it Oma, can't see everything for me. Jerry, sir, thank you. Then she will tell me, thank you. Good to you. I always will do it from. Anytime you will call me. The one to say insurance, the country who was small boy, spend all of the things. So we continue asking for people, but it was organization people. You know.
We don't want politicians of CWB will continue happening just to get just 12 years we have peace. People will go around, the bureau places, the world, everything is to go do. But at the present time, only regime, we have no peace, can't go anywhere.
Thank you.
People rushing there, our even our non there, our capital Russian.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you for 14 years.
Hello.
Good evening.
You're live in the program. Please go ahead.
Yeah, this is Joseph Singh calling from Johannesburg.
Mr. Singh, go ahead.
Yeah, bless God so much for the panelists for their contribution on the show, helping everyone to understand what is unfolding in our nation, what we need to do. We believe if we all stand together as Liberians, when we do what is right. This is one of the major things that is to about the right thing. And I believe this year 2023 is a crucial year for us that we can be able to do the right thing. Removing this president from all this nation who is not able to do anything for us and bringing in the right person that is able to do the right thing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And let me take my last caller for tonight. Go ahead, caller.
Hello?
Please go ahead. You live on the class below that.
Okay, Avi M. Jones, JR, Deputy Director of the Quest and Photo Association of Purple Latroy, National Quest and Photo Association.
Go ahead, Director.
Yeah, so the issue is still there, right? Because people try to politicize everything that go on in this country. But for us, the only thing we tell people in the country, they should keep the peace. They shouldn't use the young people for their own selfish goal. Be it Unity Party or be it CDC or be it ANC. Our message there to the people of Liberia, nobody should try to jeopardize the peace of this country. We all should go to the election. When they flock you, you'll be able to accept so the country can move forward. Because for we young people coming up, so other older people will not come and try to mess our own future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, self-proclaimed chair director. Thank you, Chief. So I think that also from my
Let's. Thank you, Chupo. We've come to the end of tonight's edition. Chupo, you're closing. Then we go to Mona, then Daniel, then Pia.
Yeah, so just want to tell everyone thank you. And I mean, it has been a great show. Even though from the initial stage, the network been giving kind of difficulties. Not like Miami now. So thanks to everyone. And I mean, it was a great show. Thanks.
Thank you. Mona?
First thing, I just want to close by saying to the Small People Association in Bangladesh, they shouldn't trust Joa Howard Taylor. She's fake. She shouldn't be trusted. They shouldn't think that if she take money to them now, they should accept it, but they should not trust her. That's one thing. Number two, the UN and ECOWAS cannot be trusted. We shouldn't trust them for nothing concerning these elections. Whatever that was signed, I'm saying, and I mean that they should have raised the issue concerning the voters registration, all of the irregularities that has been around it. They have the census and everything. They should have raised those issues instead of calling people together to sign a peace treaty or fortify a peace treaty that was already signed before. They should have raised those issues. We shouldn't trust them with nothing concerning this process. And Liberian, this is our time to go to the polls to register. We have the right to go and register. And once we register and cast our vote come October 10th, we'll make sure, we'll be making sure that George Weah will not spend one more day as a president after his term. I thank you.
Thank you, Mona. Daniel. And then Pia will take us on.
Well, Stephen, today has been a very, as always, another fascinating edition of the show. But on a more serious note, I am not distracted. I'm not carried away by the wave of skepticism that's been expressed by the signing of the Farmington Declaration by political parties. I know very well that with the support of the Liberian people and by the grace of God, if Joseph Boakai is the person that the Liberian people will turn out in March on the 10th October to vote for, I don't believe that there is anybody at the National Elections Commission to thwart the will of the Liberian people. I don't believe that anybody at the NEC can do such a thing, because I don't believe so, because we are putting into place all the technical mechanism. I sat there tonight and I narrated how the NEC, on the list that they announced for putting places, voter registration centers, they announced a list, publish it. The kind of discrepancy that we discover on that list, they even beg us not to publish it. Okay, they corrected it and they beg us not to raise it because it will even draw the credibility of the commission into question. Okay, we have all those things documented, well documented, and that's why you see we frequently told our people that we're not going to be distracted by the noise in the market. And I try to say our people should not turn out to vote. There are people turn out to vote because when you have your voting card, then you have that power to stay on the line on the 10th of October to vote for Joseph Boakai. Okay, we have all the technical capacity. We are working on to improve, put washers and everything. So nobody should even get deterred to say if we vote for Joseph Boakai, the vote will be thwarted for George Weah. It's not going to happen. If anybody does that, even the angels in heaven will not save you, because we are going to protect the vote that will be cast for Joseph Boakai. Okay, so we can be clear on that one there. The next thing I want to say here is that as we move into the electoral process, we have to widen the courage of our platform. And we're working on that. But next week, we're going to be making some announcement on the show, because the level of enthusiasm that we've gotten from the Liberian people on this broadcast is good. I'm happy that we have launched a process to expand the network, but in the limit of our own capacity back home, we're doing, what we can do to add at least 2 additional radio stations to air this show in Grand Bassa County, in Margibi as well. So it's going to be good for us to do so, because the more we talk to our people, the more people listen to us, the more people get the message, the more enthused they're going to be, the more encouraged they will be to get out to vote for Joseph Boakai. All of the issues we say here today, we hope our people listen to us. And I will also call on the government to ensure that all of the failed policy that they have instituted at the various institutions of land is not working. It's not working. And in the interest of the Liberian people, the last thing you want to do is to politicize the academic sector. The academic sector is where we should be focused on quality, not quantity. And, so NSUS government by this time should be revisiting our free education policy, because it's really undermining the progress of the various institutions. Stephen will say thank you, and as always, we're happy to be here, and we look forward to being here again on Friday. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much. Pia.
Time is fast spent. I think we touched everything, but I wish to remind all of us who are associated with this show, this is not a normal or regular radio station. This is not like Spoon. Spoon is a media entity. They run radio stations, they run different stuff. This is a political platform with a clear-cut agenda to help make Joseph Boakai president. And I just want to bring all of us attention back to that mission. And if we don't know that that is a mission, then let's know together that this is why it is. So everything we do is to help make Bouakai president, is to promote Bouakai's presidential bid, is to promote the allies of Joseph Bouakai in this journey, is to help rescue Liberia through a Joseph Numa Bouakai leadership. That is why we are here. With that first shot of calling out the CDC, they are the cause of the current state of affairs in our country. Until we highlight all the negative things associated with them, we're not going to make a case as to why they should not be re-elected. So it is our job to do that, not fabricating, because the facts are there. We're just lifting it because many people don't have the time to follow the facts as they are unfolding. That's why, as Daniel said, our goal is not just what's happening on Facebook or on Twitter where we are, or YouTube or Instagram. Our goal is mainly focused on the percentage of the population we can reach through the different radio stations that are airing the show. Thank God. I want to appreciate Radio Dukba. They've been doing wonderful. Radio Gompa is in Kansas City. They've been doing great. Premium of Prince Moy and Jupor, they've been doing well. D15. I know when we started, we had My Gibby, I guess Sino, and somewhere else. I don't know whether they're still on. We had Lofa. Lofa is still on, I guess. We had Shatta. Shatta is no longer on.
Joy is on. Radio Joy is in Maggie.
Shatta is no longer on. I don't know why. Because the owner of Shatta is an ardent Mujahideen supporter of JMB. So I don't know what the issue is for which a staunch supporter of JMB's station is not airing a show that is all about JMB. But I hope we can sort those things out. I look forward to the day when Radio Monrovia start to also air the show, because the man who is responsible for communication in Joseph Bouakai office, Mr. Charles Snyder, owns Radio Monrovia. So it just doesn't tally in my brain why up to now that station can't carry the show. All hands are required on deck. We can treat these things like that and we think it will be easier. Mind you, you're fighting an incumbent. They are very corrupt. They got a lot of money. And what can overcome all the money and everything is commitment. That commitment includes the fact that the PR owns a radio station. That radio station can help to take the message. It's unfortunate with Kim on his show, we raised some money to help Patrick. The station should have come out since February, as the people were promised. We're now in April. You can just imagine the gap. Election getting closer and closer. Unfortunately, also, he brought somebody here who collected the money raised, and that person squandered the money. Through some friends, certain percentage were remitted to Patrick, but some were never remitted. They were just squandered. So that's why it is we will not give up. We keep making the case, exposing the excesses of the regime, and telling the people why JMB is the man. That's why we committed to. That's why we'll be here every 3 days in a week to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Pia, and thanks to Mona Gopule, Jupor, and Daniel Sando for joining us today. It's been a great show. I'd like to say thanks to all of our listeners on the radio. We'd like to say a big thank you to Bushra Radio FM 98.1, Premier FM 98.1, Radio Dupa FM 89.1, Voice of Lofa FM 99.3, Radio Joy Africa FM 97.5, and of course Voice of Compa FM 106.5. This has been the midweek edition of the program, The Class Reloaded. We'll be back here on Friday with another exciting edition of the program where we'll have our language announcer, Samson Kolu, and all the rest of the other people, Ansumana and all, hopefully can join us to give our broadcast in the local vernacular. I'd like to say thanks to all of you, our panelists. Thanks to all those who called, all those who participated in the comment section. It's been a great show. I'd like to say, do have yourself a wonderful rest of the evening. God bless you all. And we'll see you when we see you. I've been your host, Stephen Johnson, saying so long. Bye-bye.
It's all in the game. It's all in the game. Here, there, and everywhere. Here, there, and everywhere. The people keep on crying. The people just keep on crying. It's not fair. And we go, we know some. You're some. All the big people. You're some. The big sea divide us.